Welcome to the Seeds from the Spectrum podcast, episode 1. I'm SixersGraeme. He is SixersJustin,
Yo,
one of
yo.
very many podcasts we will have. And there's really a lot to talk about. We're just coming off the All-Star break. There will be games Thursday night. Sixers play their first game Friday. A huge weekend ahead for Philadelphia sports as we have Union having their first game Saturday. So yeah, really exciting times. Great to start the podcast here. And the main reason because that is we have James Harden, and I cannot wait to see James Harden play in a Sixers uniform. But first, Justin, how are you doing today?
Great. Definitely excited to get episode 1 going. We've been talking about this for a while now, but definitely an exciting week coming up. Just got done All-Star break, Embiid's dominant performance in the All-Star game. You got James Harden debut on Friday night against the Timberwolves. You got the Philadelphia Union. If you guys don't know, that's the MLS. That's Philadelphia's MLS team. You got their home opener on Saturday, which I'll be attending. And then you got the Sixers going up to Madison Square Garden on Sunday, and then back to Philly against the Knicks on Wednesday. I
Wednesday.
think
So
that
there's the
is.
old it's the old Sunday to Wednesday that never makes any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
that's what's ahead. Again, if you're on Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars. Spotify, go download everything. If you watch the introduction or listen to the introduction episode of the podcast, you know where to find us. But if you didn't, SixersGraeme on Twitter, he's SixersJustin on Twitter. Our podcast is on Twitter, and our leak tree is in that bio. So our we got TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, you name it, is in there. So to keep up with all of our stuff, and again, this is going to be very interactional with the Sixers fans because this is by Sixers fans for Sixers fans, and we're super stoked to get this underway.
yeah, if you guys didn't watch the introduction, which we put out
It would
yesterday,
it would be last night to these
yeah,
people.
we're recording this back to back, but if you guys watched the introduction last night, then these episodes are gonna be coming out weekly, usually Thursdays unless the conflict of schedule. But yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about All-Star weekend, All-Star break, and Embiid's dominant performance. You can
Yeah,
start.
Embiid with no help in the All-Star game. Yeah, I knew like Embiid's the perfect All-Star type of player because he can do everything, and that's kind of the way Embiid plays regularly. Like the All-Star game is for like these guys to show off a skill set or something that they do in practice all the time, but they never really do it in a game. Embiid's really not that way. Like he plays like he's 6'2" sometimes, and he could also play like he's 7 foot. So he just played Embiid's style of ball, and it really didn't change for him too much because he always plays like it's the All-Star game.
Yeah, and Embiid caught fire all game. It seemed like he couldn't miss. I mean, he shot 5 for 8 from 3. He shot 14 for 20 from the field. He finished with, I think it was 36.
Yes, around 36.
30. He was playing really, really well. Obviously, there's not much defense played, but most of his points came from jump shots and threes, and he was really dominant. And he would have won All-Star Game MVP if it wasn't for Steph Curry hitting a
Yeah,
billion threes.
yeah, and Steph Curry's record-breaking thing is just it's incredible because it just seems so natural for Steph just to break that record. Like, yeah, Steph broke the record, right? Like, I don't think people understand like how absolutely insane that is when you're sharing that amount of minutes with other All-Star players. Like to do that in the time span he did, just is actually insane. It was crazy to watch. And then another part of All-Star Weekend, we had Scotty Barnes absolutely sell Tyrese Maxey. I also I
Couldn't make a
wasn't a
layup.
fan. I wasn't a fan of Scotty Barnes coming into the draft. I thought that Suggs was a lot better. Obviously, he had a really hot start, and then my hatred for Barnes grew again once we saw that absolutely atrocious and dreadful performance alongside Maxey.
Yeah, I was at a concert, so I wasn't able to watch it. But I saw the whole Twitter timeline talking about, oh my God, Scotty Barnes, Tyrese Maxey, what the hell happened? And I was so confused. I had to look it up on YouTube and watch it. And oh my God, that was embarrassing. He could not make a simple shot like 4 feet from the basket. It was really
Yes,
funny.
those Raptors players, man, you gotta watch out for them. I mean, that was yeah, and Raptors fans, they're still gonna defend Scotty Barnes to the death. I think it's funny because I saw Raptors fans on the timeline, and it's like our only time we have a player on national TV this year, and he does that. That was hilarious for
Yeah, it
that.
was it was it was definitely really funny to watch.
Yeah, because, like, that's for the casual fan, right? Yeah, they might know Scotty Barnes, maybe play college basketball, they might not have seen him too much in the NBA because, there's not that many opportunities to watch the Raptors on national TV, and I feel like for the casual NBA fan, that might have been, like, the first real experience of Scotty Barnes, and, it's him missing three-foot shots, like 3 of 'em.
Yeah, definitely a Shaq in a full top moment for the year. Pretty definitely pretty embarrassing, but he'll never live that down.
No,
But,
I'll always remember because,
yeah.
Scotty Barnes might hit a shot against us. He's like, "But at least I can make a 3 foot," he can do that, but he can't put a simple floater in from the restricted area, right?
We coulda hit a shot from there.
Yeah, it should have been me and you out there. I
Yeah,
think we would
we
have got
would've
a
gotten
better
a higher
score than
score.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It wouldn't have taken much. Yeah,
Alright,
we should definitely do that next year.
let's go back to Embiid,
Yes,
and his no help at the All-Star game. It was literally just like a regular Sixers game.
it was.
Embiid comes into All-Star weekend. He wants to have a good time. He's finally got some teammates that can hit some shots and help. And Andrew Wiggins goes 4 for 7. John Morant goes 3 for 6. Trae Young goes 5 for 13. Zach LaVine 5 for 7. Devin Booker 9 for 18. Chris Middleton 1 for 8. Um, wait, where was I?
Chris Middleton in that
Oh, Chris
game,
Middleton, yeah.
like, he shouldn't have been there. Like, he
Dude,
shouldn't have been there. Like, we
he
knew we
looked
knew that coming
horrible.
in. Like, we knew that coming in. Like, Chris Middleton shouldn't have been in the All-Star game. Like, if you're on Twitter, like, like, he was slandered a lot. People were wondering about it, and, yeah, he answered all of his questions of whether he should be in there, and it was yeah, we were right on Twitter, for Chris Middleton because he put an absolute stinker up, and he played 21
Yeah,
minutes. Like, Cat played 14. Rudy played 13. Zach played 11, and he scored 12 points. But you know what I mean? Like it was pretty bad all around. Devin Booker was all right, but really he never saw the floor with Joel. So
definitely a lot
yeah,
of turnovers.
36, 10, and 4 from Embiid in that only one to get over 13 points in the starting lineup for Team Durant because Trae Young had 13, and that was the other starter that had the most points.
Yeah. And let's talk about something that I really thought was funny. In the fourth quarter of the All-Star game, a certain somebody was benched on Team LeBron and got replaced by Jared Allen. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't. I wasn't watching the fourth quarter, so
Jokic was benched the whole fourth quarter for
that's good for
Jared
my
Allen.
agenda. I'm not
And
gonna don't tell me the context of it because I don't care.
for those of you who don't know, we really love to push agendas, even though they may seem really wildly insane. But
No agenda is too insane for SixersGraeme and SixersJustin. If you don't believe that, check out our next post-game space. It gets wild.
yeah, Sixers Twitter definitely had a field day with Jokic getting benched. I mean, it was really funny. Because if he was out there, he's gonna get cooked by Embiid. Jared Allen did a solid job at holding his own, especially coming down the stretch, which it was really sad to see. Embiid almost dunked on him again, but he missed. But no, it was just really funny to see Jokic, a starter, the reigning MVP, get benched in the fourth quarter of an All-Star game when he's supposed to be the best in the world.
But he did have his almost triple double, so he was stat padding to get his assists. He got his 9 rebounds. It was a good night for Jokic standards.
He's
He had the
he's
old Ben Simmons stat line with the 10 points, 8 assists, 9 rebounds. It was the classic Ben Simmons stat line.
coming out the game. He was stat padding.
Yeah, stat padding in the All-Star game.
And to continue on the subject of All-Star Weekend, let's talk about the underdog, Karl Anthony Towns, winning the 3-point shootout. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought that he was the best shooting big man in the history of the game coming into that, and now that it's over with and he won the 3-point shooting contest, we understand like, yeah, that's got to be real, because you don't want to call somebody like Karl Anthony Towns the GOAT big man at anything, right? Because it's just like, well, it might be too early, but really, that's not even an overreaction when you think about it. The GOAT shooting big man is Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, he could. Like he can light it up, and that's something that he's been doing. Like that's not like, oh my gosh, he's shooting threes, no way. Like he's that's his game. Like he's no stranger to that type of stuff, and I think that he was perfect for for the contest. He was getting to it quickly. He was making his shots when he needed to. When he was catching fire, he was catching fire, and I think that that's perfect for that type of contest. And he's a great shooter. I mean, he's just a normal shooting guard when it comes to the outside stroke. So I really think that he deserved it too. And I know there's a lot of people that hit on some major bets because they felt like Anthony Towns was just getting disrespected by the odds.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have my money on Karl Anthony Towns. I had my money on Luke Kennard, who made it to the last round, but obviously, Cat caught fire, and Luke Kennard just couldn't come back. But that was a really fun 3-point shootout to watch. I mean,
Yeah, it was. And
I
then
never expected him to win.
yeah, it was a fun one, and it's good to see a big man win. Honestly, like we're in a big man's league, really. I
Yeah,
mean, the way that things have turned out last couple of years, we're in a big man league. Two best players, three best players. I'll count Giannis as a big. Three best players in the NBA are big men right now. So I think that it's awesome that Karl Anthony Towns won the 3-point shooting contest, and you go to the dunk contest. What a snooze fest that was. um, yeah, it's never gonna be the same. Like we had what we had in 2015, 2016. That was just peak dunk contest. Um, for people our age, and I just think it'll never be the same because our expectations are that.
yeah. I definitely think players are trying to go for the fancy, never before seen dunks, and it just didn't end well because especially the in the first round, that first dunk with Jalen Green, I felt like I was sitting there for 20 minutes waiting for a dunk. It felt like a really long time, and my problem with this year's dunk contest is obviously players are trying to be too fancy, but they were soft finishes. Like, you always like a guy that goes strong to the rim and really slams it down, but players were trying to be too fancy and it didn't end up being a strong finish.
And that's like Donovan Mitchell in the dunk contest doing just like strong finishes, taking the rim down as he was dunking. You got to do that. That's the most important thing about the dunk because if you stick the landing, it looks a lot cooler than it might have been if it was a soft one, right?
Yeah.
If you do all this fancy stuff, if you can go behind the legs, 3 times, and while that you're doing a 720, but you finger roll it in, what's the point? We want to see someone like shatter the backboard.
Yeah.
That would be like if somebody could literally break the backboard, that would win the dunk contest. Like just
Oh
bring it down
yeah.
like Shaq did in Jersey.
Yeah. I don't know. I doubt that would ever happen, but it would be so fun to see if that actually ever did.
Yeah, and you see all the people on Twitter talking about Jalen Green's like had like a 22 true shooting percentage in the dunk contest. Twitter never fails.
Dude, the slander on Jalen Green was
Absolutely insane.
hilarious. It was hilarious. Um, so we had the 3-point contest, we had the dunk contest. I didn't get a chance to watch the skills challenge. or the Rising Stars game, or
I watched
the
I watched a tiny bit of the Rising Stars. I was watching a little bit of Maxey. He just didn't get the shots that he needed to, and he was just having fun out there. He wasn't really taking it serious. Like some of the guys were acting like this was, they like performing for scouts in a high school playoff game. But it was fun to see Tyrese just out there and smiling like he usually does. And then I didn't really see much of the skills contest or anything they had outside of that, besides Scotty Barnes just absolutely selling the bag.
yeah, there's definitely you're always gonna get your tryhards on All Star Weekend, especially in the Rising Stars game, and even in the All Star game, a guy like Giannis, who LeBron called the most tryhard All Star game player in NBA history. I think it's really funny that he goes game action in the All Star game.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next. Let's just talk about the next three games for the Sixers, right? So we got the
Mhm.
Timberwolves Friday at 8 in Minnesota. We lost to the Timberwolves earlier this season in overtime, in a
Yeah, and
heartbreaking fashion.
if you didn't forget, that was the first time that we saw a Drummond and Embiid lineup,
Right,
which resulted in a last second free throw miss Drummond tip in.
right.
Always miss Andre Drummond. It's
Yeah, that's
unfortunate
when
that he's not here
was
anymore.
my father fell in love, with Drummond at that exact moment. But,
Yeah.
yeah, this Timberwolves, it's obviously with Harden going to play. That's pretty much been confirmed by Maury on Twitter. Like, there's no, like, injury report out quite yet, that'll give us any knowledge of that, but, Sixers Timberwolves in Minnesota, obviously a winnable game. Last season, when we played in Minnesota, I know we won pretty handedly, with that. Embiid had a big game, and then in that game, we got the gif of Embiid when he, missed the free throw, and he, like, fell to his knees after he missed because it rimmed out. That's actually the one thing I remember from that game. But, yeah, there's just Embiid cat, always love to see it, but, we got Harden. That's that's
Yeah.
that's that's the thing for this one, and
Yeah,
I think he could just air it out.
yeah,
That's all I want.
we're not really sure. I don't think nothing really came out about Harden's injury. I mean, the only thing we have is just talks around, just people saying that he's gonna make his debut, and I mean, I'm pretty sure it's confirmed, especially that Daryl Morey tweeted out,
Yeah,
so
there's
it's
something
coming
about Friday.
soon at Timberwolves or
Yeah,
whatever.
man. He's been
I
going
don't,
on his media tour, and,
yeah,
he's basically said it every time that post All-Star break, it's gonna be Harden show.
yeah, and I'm not sure if there's going to be any minute restrictions or anything. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm not looking to see something drastic off the bat. It's definitely gonna take time to, get the on court chemistry together and figure out how other guys play and how Harden plays and their kind of shots and what kind of tendencies they go to. But I'm really excited to see what he brings on Friday.
Yep, and, we got Willie Cauley-Stein, 10-day contract player. It's just a guy for Harden that can rim run, and I think that that's the type of guy when, we have Embiid out or Paul Millsap's not getting the minutes, we let Harden just do what Harden does, play ISO ball, let him get his rim runner. So instead of the bench unit, it's the bench unit plus Harden and a guy that he can turn into be a really good player and get easy looks. So I think that's probably the move here with Willie Cauley-Stein. So it's going to be interesting to see if he even plays Friday night. We don't know that as well, but I mean, he's a career 8 points per game scorer. So it's not like he's a 2 point per game scorer. Um, he shot 57% from the field in his career. So I think man, he's never really played in a style of how the Sixers are going to use him with Harden being on that bench unit where Harden can just go in and cook. And I think that's really going to be the big key. And I think that you put any big in that situation, he's going to be successful.
Yeah, I think. Willie Cauley-Stein was a pretty solid signing. I mean, it's a guy that, he's gonna come off the bench if he does, end up getting minutes, and he's gonna work hard. I mean, he's gonna go for rebounds, which we've been struggling with all season. Um, Definitely could be a potential lob threat for James Harden, and a guy that can, if Harden gets doubled, definitely a guy that can get the ball for an easy two, easy dunk or whatever you need. But I really like it. It's solid. I'm not sure if we'll get signed for the rest of the season. If we don't, then we still have an extra slot for another player. The buyout market ends in, I think, around a week. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's all I have
around
on
like the
Willie
first week of
Cauley-Stein.
March. Yeah, around the
Yeah.
first week of March. But yeah, and then Sixers move on. They'll play Sunday at 1 at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. It's a game where it's always, a Sunday afternoon at the Garden. It's always going to be a really, really great atmosphere. And I think, James Harden being there and having Embiid, it'll be on ABC on their Sunday afternoons featured game. So I think that the atmosphere is going to be great. It's going to be a really good style, like a play a basketball game. But the problem is the Knicks just haven't been good. They've been the Sixers of last year's playoffs on steroids, blowing leads. Julius Randle just isn't trusted in the clutch. RJ Barrett's on and off. They still don't know what they're doing with Cam Reddish. And I think the Sixers, and obviously, it would be really, really nice to sweep both of these games. And I think that that's quite possibly going to be the case. The Knicks, coming off the All-Star break, if they figure something out, good for them. But I just, the leads they've been blowing in the way that they've been playing down the stretch of some games, it just has not been good at all.
Yeah, they've been kind of a mess this year. Coming out of last year and their exit from the playoffs, it was kind of like, all right, the Knicks have a really solid team, but coming into this year and the way they've been playing, it's like, oh, just underperforming, and especially with Julius Randle, especially after getting the Most Improved Player award last year. Um, he just is not he's not performing well. He's not being that efficient. Um, and it's really been a problem for them because the Knicks thought Julius Randle was going to be that guy you could rely on whenever, but he hasn't been that guy for them this season. I mean, I make the argument that RJ Barrett's been more that guy for them. Um,
Yeah, like
but
this is the thing about the Knicks, right? You've got Julius Randle. He had a really fake shooting season. Everybody knew that. But the Knicks are going to hold on to that hope that it wasn't fake, right? And
the Knicks will hold
there's
on
no
to
way.
anything.
Yeah, they're going to hold on to any hope. I don't blame them. They've been a terrible team forever. And you're playing in a market like New York. As soon as the Knicks are good, it is Knicks. It's Knicks, 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 Knicks until the Yankees and Mets start playing. So in that time, it was all about the Knicks. They had a bad playoffs performance, especially from Randall in there. Like when you have fans in the arena, you see what Julius Randle is. He's the same guy that he was when he was in New Orleans in his first season with New York. Um, they're just back to reality. It was an overperforming season last year. Uh, they got hot at the right times. They came in and I remember that they won a couple games, and that meant we avoided the Miami Heat, and like they were helping us out. They were helping us out, get us an easier route, but we know how that ended. But yeah, I think that last year was fake basketball for them. They were never that team, and it came back and it bit them in the playoffs. They're just back to what the Knicks are. Like they're playing to their roster right now.
Yeah, and back to your point about overperforming, it kind of hit right when the playoffs started. They returned to their normal form of
Yeah,
the
once
the
Madison Square
typical
Garden,
yeah.
once they started getting some fans in the arenas and their depth perception was cut off just a slight bit. We saw things go sideways pretty quickly.
Yeah, Julius Randle was throwing up stinker after stinker in the playoffs, and Trae Young just did his thing, and the Hawks beat him in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean,
But I think it's a very realistic chance that we take these 2 games
yeah,
from the
and
Knicks, one away on Sunday and one home on Wednesday.
and the one home on Wednesday, I feel like is a must, no matter what,
Yeah,
because it's either gonna be, all right, you lost to the Knicks. You can't lose two to the Knicks, right? You can't, especially in a row. The Knicks have been bad. And the one Wednesday is definitely the most important game because you can't get swept. And if you win the first one, you're like, all right, let's sweep them. We can't lose at home to a team we just beat on the road. So I feel like March 2nd, that Wednesday night, that's probably the most important game, other than March 10th against the Nets for this up and coming slate.
yeah. Your prediction on the next 3 games?
3
3
and 0.
0
3 and 0.
3-0. All right. I'll have to agree with you on that one. 3-0. So let's talk a little bit about Harden and
All right.
his debut game and his home debut game and everything Sixers fans need to know about his debut.
Yeah, so we're going to get a taste of Harden before we actually see him in person, unless you're going to make the drive up to Manhattan, or the train ride. If you do, you. But
I'm going to MSG on Sunday.
you are nice,
Yeah.
nice. So yeah, how about that, Justin? Are you gonna go? Are you gonna go to Wednesday as well?
Nah, I don't have tickets for Wednesday.
Oh, come on. Yeah, so I feel like you're gonna have 2 wins under your belt from the All-Star break. You're gonna get a little taste of Harden. It's like a teaser on those away games, and then Harden knows about Philly. He knows the crowd. Like he loves the passion that we bring. If he didn't, he saw all this Ben Simmons drama. He wanted us out of Houston. He went to the Nets. He saw the Ben Simmons drama firsthand, and he still wants to come, even though the media try to portray the Philadelphia fan like they do always, and like we're the bad guys. So, and even then, he still wanted to be here. And that says a lot about what Harden thinks of Philadelphia and the way that he's going to play at home. And I think that we come back to the place where we were a couple of years ago when, we were not losing at home. And funny you say that, because we're the best road team right now in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
So,
if you would have told me that we would be the best road team in the conference like 4 years ago, I would have said you're crazy because looking back a few years ago, we were unbeatable at home, but one of the worst teams in away
yeah,
games. I just
that's
think
right.
that's crazy that we've, kind of flipped the script
And
this
I think
year.
I think we can become that home monster, because James Harden is a player that understands, right? There's still some guys that are on the roster right now, and they've played for us last 2 years, whatever, and they don't understand, like, Wells Fargo Center, how it can be. Like, once it starts getting rocking, Wells Fargo Center is up there with the best arenas in the world, or the worst if you're an away team, right? So
Yeah.
and Harden, that's all you need. You just need Harden's presence. We've seen that already this season. Just Harden being in the building, it gets that place rocking. So I think once Harden steps down to the floor, get a little extra juice, extra adrenaline, being in Philly, it's going to be Harden's best ball, because he's playing for a city he wants to play with the most passionate fan base in the entire NBA right now. And he wants to play for us. He wants to be with Joel Embiid. Obviously he's going to love the city. He wants to play for Daryl Morey. He's going to give his all, especially at home when he's got every single fan behind him. And he hasn't even played a game. Like, you see James Harden stands on Twitter. Like, it's crazy that these Sixer fans are defending James Harden like this already, and he hasn't even played a game. Like, it's just that type of loyalty runs deep, and it's really gonna come into fruition. And yeah, I feel like that home, that just atmosphere with Harden, it's like a brand new team, in that earlier this season, I was probably the most disconnected from the Sixers that I've been in a while, especially when we had that COVID spree. And, we were starting Furkan and we had bad lineups, right? And now that since the trade's been made, and leading up to the trade, I'm right back in there, locked in, back with the Sixers. So it's a crazy turn of events for how my thoughts on the Sixers are, because I was just like, yeah, we're gonna be a play-in team at some. Like I was contemplating us, like, are we gonna be a play-in team? We'd lost a lot in a row, but the way that it's turned around this season is crazy, and you've got the entire city behind your back. And James Harden understands. Like he's a player that gets it.
Yeah. And you saw in his press conference, he said Philly was always his choice. I mean, he couldn't control like that he got traded to Brooklyn. Philly and Houston just couldn't make a deal. And James Harden, that's Daryl Morey's guy, and vice versa. They love each other. They're basically family. Um, Daryl Morey's always been high on James Harden, and Harden's always been the guy that he's wanted to get. Um, James Harden knows what it takes to win. I mean, he doesn't have a ring yet, but he knows.
Yes, he's lost enough times to know what it takes, and he thinks that playing with Embiid and being in a system where Daryl can use him the right way will help him do that, and so that just says enough. And and it's up to Philly. It's hard. And I guess Harden fans that are now um, Sixers fans, they will. Uh, they're going to see Philly go nuts when Harden does the bare minimum, such as like just a normal three that he creates off the dribble. I mean, he could do that in his sleep, but we're going to go nuts and we're going to think it's the greatest thing in the world because we've never really had someone to do that.
Yeah.
It's someone that can dribble, shoot, and pass. Like we haven't had someone be that and be a shifty guard.
Yeah, we hoped Ben Simmons would turn out to be the guy that can, try to develop into somewhat of a scorer to help Joel Embiid, but obviously it didn't turn out into that guy. James Harden is somebody that Sixers fans have been asking for years. A shot creator, somebody that can be consistent, somebody that can really get to the rim, find their guys. His defense is iffy, but I'll take the offense and I'll give up the defense. I'm
For sure.
completely
We
fine
we
with
know
it.
we know all about that.
Yeah, but I'm really really excited, especially the pairing with Joel Embiid, and I've seen a lot of media people and analysts talk about, is this gonna hurt Joel Embiid's MVP kind of year? Will his numbers go down? And I kind of want to hear your thoughts on that.
I think we're getting to that later, right? In our in a segment for
Are we?
something new. Yeah. So you just want to go? Let's go straight into that. Actually, all
I
right. We have
completely I forgot that was one of the questions.
no. It's fine because we can. Okay, so we have a segment that we're gonna play. It's called more likely. Is this very likely, or unlikely? So we're just gonna start off with this Embiid MVP. Very likely, or unlikely.
I will start off with saying very likely. I mean, he's the favorite right now. And going to what I just said, answering the question I just said, I really don't think this is going to hurt his MVP kind of year. I think he's going to still get his. James Harden's going to get his as well. I really don't think it's going to, maybe a couple points per game down, maybe one, maybe two for the rest of the year. Who knows if he'll end the year as the scoring leader, but I really do think it's very likely that he ends the year with an MVP.
I'm not gonna say very likely because I feel like Jokic and Giannis still have a lot to turn on, and especially if Giannis ends up with a better record than us, I feel like he'll have the edge in the MVP. I'm gonna say likely just because his points per game is probably gonna go down just a little bit. We might see his assist numbers go up, his efficiency is gonna go up. He's gonna have more room to work and get his. But yeah, I think that Giannis probably right now um, would be the MVP at this right. Like I gotta word that a little better. Right now, it's MVP. It's MVP. It's Embiid. Right, he is the MVP. If it ended today, at the end of the season, I see it more being Giannis. So
Yeah, I think
I think Embiid's there. Obviously, Jokic is in the conversation. But it's just if Embiid doesn't fall off and we get the 1 seed, I don't see how he's not.
yeah, I think if the Sixers finished, top 3 seeds, then I think he has the best chance of getting the MVP award. Um, I think top 3 would probably be like the Heat, the Bulls, and the Sixers in no order, but I do think that'll be the top 3 seeds. I do think the Bucks will finish right at the 4 seed. Um, but I think if we do finish ahead of the Bucks, then I think Embiid is certain for a lock for MVP.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Just having a better record than the Bucks and not having much of a drop off at all. And if you do have a scoring drop off, if you're much more efficient, I do think Embiid has the MVP. It's just will we have a better record than the Bucks? And Giannis, he tends to turn it on this type of year. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And obviously, Jokic, what he's doing is phenomenal, but it needs to start translating a little bit more wins for him to be, because it is the most valuable player. If it's the best player in the world, conversation, it's not that, so it's a lot of it's a lot more value for especially the voters taking the value a lot more. Like even Stephen A has said that unless something drastically changes, that Embiid's going to have his vote, and he's an MVP voter. So
Yeah.
we've already seen these voters come out and say that what Embiid's doing is impeccable without a max contract player playing what he's been able to do. So I think I'm not going to say very likely, but I'm going to say likely.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I definitely see his points per game taking just a tiny hit, but nothing major. Definitely assists going up. Um, and yeah,
All right, we'll
all
do
right.
another one here. I got you. Um, Nets will finish top 5 in seeding. Is that very likely, or unlikely?
I'm gonna go with unlikely. They're in a if I remember correctly, they're in a play-in spot right now. Do
They're
you
the
remember
eighth.
what
They're the
they're the
eighth.
eighth seed?
They're
All right.
they're they're 7 back from first. Fifth right now would be the Bucks, and they're 2.5 back from first. So they got they
Yeah.
got a lot to
I
do.
would I would say I would say unlikely, especially because they're brand new team. They had a lot of new guys coming in, and it's gonna take some time to really get the chemistry going. And you're not gonna have Ben Simmons for a while. Not gonna have KD for the net. I think he's comes back in a little over a week, but I definitely don't think they have enough time to get to that top 5 seeding. I think they'll finish around 6, 7, 8. I think it's a real chance that they get in the play-in tourney, which would really suck because you don't want to have to make guys play more games than they already have to. But definitely, I see them as a play-in team, 7, 8 seed, maybe 6, but no, not. I don't see them as top 5.
I'm gonna agree with you and say unlikely. If they do finish in the top 5, I think they are 5th.
Yeah,
And because like you said, they got a lot of gelling to do. KD obviously is gonna help, but in this Eastern Conference, I feel like 4.5 is a lot to climb your way back because of how competitive. And it's not like the Cavs or the Bucks or any team that's ahead of them. Like Celtics are only getting better. We're obviously only getting better. The 76ers, the Bucks, Giannis is about to turn it on. The Raptors, it'll be interesting to see, if they can keep their hot scoring with Gary Trent and Pascal playing at the top of their game. So it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, the Nets can control what they can control, but it's not like these teams are just gonna drastically drop off. So I think it's gonna be tough for them to make top 5 seeding. If they do, they're 5th. I don't see them being any higher than 5th at the end of the season.
yeah, they're definitely gonna have their struggles. I mean, especially with their recent struggles, it's gonna take a while for everybody to to get used to everybody and their play styles and their game, and you really don't know what you're gonna get when it comes to Ben Simmons with that team. You don't know if he's gonna be changed, if you're gonna see this new
No,
aggressive
you're not.
Ben
I tell you, I'm
Simmons,
telling you right
which
now, you're not gonna see that.
it's very unlikely we see that, but uh, definitely if they would finish top 5, it would be right at the 5 spot.
Yeah,
In no way do I see them getting 4 or 3 or any of that.
you're right. All right, so Tobias Harris right now shooting 48% from the floor this season at the All-Star break. Will he shoot over 48% from the floor in the second half of the season? Is that very likely, unlikely, or likely?
I'm gonna have to I won't say very likely, but I'm gonna have to go at likely. In the month of January, he was second in the NBA in increased field goal percentage. Because in the first few months he was shooting really poorly. He was taking, not smart shots. Um, his famous pump fake for 3 and then take a mid-range
Contestant, yeah,
shot.
the
Yeah.
fadeaway, yeah.
And then but I do think we're gonna see some improved shooting from him. He's he's top 3 in Sixers field goal percentage for catch and shoot threes, which I think he's gonna see a lot more catch and shoot action, especially with James Harden and him drawing the attention and Embiid drawing the attention. But, I'm seeing him shoot around the 54% mark, from the field in the second half. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna say that's very likely because of the fact that he got off to a putrid start, and he's starting, like you said, in January. He had a really, really good month. He's been playing well, and he's back in a position where he is comfortable. And I know I've slandered Tobias a lot, but he's that third now. Really borderline the fourth option with Tyrese playing the way that he's been playing the last couple of games. I think he's in a spot where he's comfortable. He knows where he can get his points, so he doesn't have to look for points because the team really doesn't need his 25 that he was trying to give us. We're cool with his 17 right now, and that's where he wants to be. He wants to be that third guy. That's where he's most comfortable. He'll find his shots. Like there will be no help defense because you've got Embiid and you've got Harden. The defense is going to be keening on. You're going to let Tobias go under the radar, and I feel like he's going to get a lot of easy looks, even if it's mid-range jumpers. Like those fadeaways might not be contested anymore because you've got someone like Harden on the perimeter with you, and he's going to get a lot more catch and shoot opportunities, and even in some bench run that he might be able to play some of his ball and get a lot of open shots that way.
Yeah, and James Harden even said in his press conference, Tobias is a guy that can get 20 from you every night, and that's his job to get it out of him. And I really think we're definitely gonna see Tobias's shooting, his numbers, his efficiency percentage. I think we're gonna see everything go up. I think we're gonna get a lot of easier looks, and I think we're gonna see the real Tobias Harris third option that we've been looking for his the whole time he's been here, because
Right.
he's been our third option, but he's never been that third option that you can rely on, especially with how disappointing he can be sometimes and inefficient. But I think this is a real opportunity for him to be the third option and live up. It's really hard to live up to that $180 million that he's getting paid, but I think this is his best opportunity to really live up
To
to
be
that.
somewhere close to that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be your max
He's
player,
he's
but you're
never
gonna be
he's never
something
gonna
close.
play like that.
No, but we do need to see something like just make us believe that it wasn't the worst decision in the history of basketball.
Yeah.
Next one, will Sixers finish as a top 3 seed? Very likely, likely, or unlikely?
I'm gonna have to say likely. You got the Heat that I think the Heat are really gonna stay around that top 3 area. I see the Bulls staying around that top 4. And it's just a matter of, Sixers, Bucks, and even the Cavs. We're all really close in the standings. It's a matter of just who can finish out the season the strongest. And I think that we'll take that third spot, or even if you see a collapse from the Heat or the Bulls in the second half of the season, then we can really take advantage of that and move into that second and first seed. But finishing top 3 seed, I do think it's likely.
I'm gonna say very likely, and I think we're gonna finish top 2. I'm not that much of a Bulls believer.
Neither am I,
It
but,
it
they've been
I
stuck up
think
there all year.
they're a good team. You're about to see a bit of a drop off for the Bulls. I mean, they're tied for first right now. We're 2.5 back. We're getting a superstar player that hasn't been with us all season. Um, so I think that it's gonna be us in Miami for that 1 seed, and I think we're for sure finishing top 2, and I think we see Milwaukee in the Bulls fight for that 3rd spot. So I'm gonna say very likely because I feel like if we're not 1, we can be 2.
Yeah, I see. I've never been that, like you said. I've never been a Bulls believer, but they've really just been solid all year round, and they've been able to.
They've been hovering around, and a lot of their
Yeah.
games they're playing like they play OKC close like twice now this season.
Hmm.
And I just DeMar DeRozan has been phenomenal. That's really not sustainable in my opinion. Like he's been a phenomenal player, no doubt about it. But they've they've got injuries. Billy Donovan. Will he be up to the task? And it's just a lot more question marks than answers right now for the Bulls.
Yeah. All right. Now for our next question, we're gonna go to a little bit off of the Sixers, and we're gonna go to Zion Williamson. Obviously, there's been a report that JJ Redick kind of confirmed on ESPN that he's been kind of disconnected from the team. Um, do you think Zion will play for the Pelicans again? Very likely, or unlikely?
I'm gonna say that it's very likely he will play again for the Pelicans because I really don't see the leverage he has in this situation. I mean, he's on his rookie deal. He's not gonna be a UFA, right? So he's gonna have to play a little bit just to get some trade value up because there's going to be, Adam Silver. If this is a Ben Simmons situation, Adam Silver is going to step in, and players aren't going to have this amount of power anymore because it's just, in my opinion, it's bad for the league. Yeah, player empowerment is good and all this, but when you're blatantly trying to miss games because your feelings got hurt in the locker room or you don't like the fan base or anything like that, I just feel like that's kind of taking it too wrong. So I feel like it's very likely he will play. I also think it's very likely he'll get traded. But he needs to play first just to see how that foot's going because if he doesn't play, you're taking a gamble on somebody because we don't know what Zion Williamson is. If he can play for 2 months and show that Zion Williamson is still Zion Williamson, you'll get teams knocking on the door ready to give up all their young guys and assets to the Pelicans for Zion. But I just feel like he needs to play first.
Yeah, I do think it's very likely he plays for the Pelicans as well. I mean, the injuries really suck. The foot injury that he's been dealing with all season really sucks. But I think it all comes back to the health and staying healthy. And I don't want to sound mean, but staying at a healthy weight. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
Zion, especially coming to the league, has gained a lot of weight. I mean, I think somebody needs
And
to.
not all of that is fat either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got a
He's a
ton
muscle
of
guy.
muscle.
Yeah,
Ton of muscle.
and it's not like we're on him for that. It's just that's hindering a lot of his recovery process, in my opinion.
Yeah, and especially with, if he goes back to the court and he's still this heavy guy. I mean, it takes a really big toll on your knees and your legs, dunking the ball and coming down with all that weight on your
Yeah, he
legs.
relies heavily on his athleticism to play his
Yeah.
style of game. So I feel like you gotta play and show you still have that in yourself, and it's got to be with the Pelicans because he's on a rookie deal. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the matter. That's the fact of the matter that he really has no leverage in this situation. The way the contracts work out, and I think that it's very likely he'll play. And like I said, he's going to get traded. I just don't see him being in New Orleans long term.
Yeah, I see within the next 2 years, he definitely gets dealt out to a new team and definitely a fresh start. All right, moving on out of the NBA,
Oh,
new football league just came out. It's the
it's the
U
USFL, I believe.
USFL.
Yes.
Yeah, and, you gotta talk about it because we got a Philly team, the Philadelphia Stars. I really don't know much about them. Their first night of drafting was last night. They draft you know about the
Yes, they drafted DeAndre Overton, who
yes.
I've actually met him a couple times. Not yeah, and
Okay,
yeah,
Hollywood.
I'm just gonna leave that there. No, he's a great guy, and he's a phenomenal player. They're already better at drafting wide receivers than the Eagles. So they yeah. So I feel like the Philadelphia Stars. So this is a question. Um, will the Philadelphia Stars make the playoffs this season? Is it very likely, or unlikely?
I'll just go
They don't even
likely.
have
I
their whole
mean,
team right now,
they
but
don't even.
we're already going to start the conversation.
We're already throwing questions out. I mean, sure, likely. I guess.
Yeah,
The guy you
just
talked about, sure, he'll carry the team, and you said they
facts,
draft great
facts.
wide receivers. So
I'm going to say very likely, and I don't think not only they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to win the whole thing.
really,
Yeah,
is that your bold prediction for today?
that's my bold prediction is that the Philadelphia Stars will win the playoffs if they even have a playoff. I don't know. I'm assuming they do. They're going to win the USFL Super Bowl.
All right.
That's my prediction.
So, um, that was short, but we're gonna go on to the MLB, and obviously, the MLB's in their own sort of lockout right
It
now.
doesn't exist right now.
So, very likely or unlikely, will the MLB regular season start on time?
I'm gonna say likely because they're meeting every day until the 28th. Obviously, they set the deadline February 28th. If they don't have a deal done by then the regular season will be pushed back until they can get a deal done. Because they still have a lot of free agents that haven't signed anywhere. Freddie Freeman, Carlos Correa, those type of guys, and not to mention they haven't even started spring training, which should have been, in a couple or should be in a couple of days. Um, yeah, I think it's likely that they're gonna make like a last second buzzer beater deal because it just hurts both sides if the regular season is not 162 games or it gets pushed back. And I think that maybe they're far away now, but they still got a couple days more to work, and I see them making a deal, but it's gonna come down to the last second.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you, and I'm gonna say likely. Because I don't think the MLB wants to lose any money, especially if they have to shorten the season. Um, but everything, it all comes down to money, and like you said, I do think they're gonna make a buzzer beater kind of deal, and the season's gonna start on time.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Nothing better than just a regular Tuesday night in July, and you just go to the ballpark and
Yeah.
enjoy some baseball.
All right, I got one more for you.
Okay.
Um, James Harden, um, will he average over 25 points per game
Yes,
for the rest
that's
of the
very likely.
season?
I think he'll average around 26, 27, along with Embiid. They're going to be averaging similar points per game, and it's just going to
Mhm.
be them two running the show, and it's going to be so fun to watch.
All right.
Very likely. What
Um,
about you? What about you?
I do think he'll score over that. Um, you know, in Brooklyn, we watched him change his game. Because they asked him to, because they needed a good facilitator, and he turned into one of the league's best facilitators. And I think he still needs to facilitate for this team. He still needs to bring that playmaking, but we do need his scoring. That's something that Brooklyn didn't wasn't their number one priority. Obviously, they still needed the scoring, but his passing and all that was just such a plus for guys like Kyrie and KD. But I definitely gonna think we're gonna see a more of a scoring side out of James Harden, especially with this team. And I think, we're gonna see some flashbacks to Rockets James Harden and back in his prime. I do think we're gonna see some flashbacks to that, but the scoring wise, I do think we're gonna see a little boost.
Yeah, I think that both Embiid and Harden will benefit from each other, and in like you said, it's going to allow James Harden to be James Harden and play the way he wants to play and play the way where he can help other people be their best. So I really think James is going to bring that to the table among other things, and yeah, I think it's very likely that that him and Embiid both score around like they're hovering around 28.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I gotta agree. All right.
We have a shams bomb, actually. We have a shams bomb. New York City has a plan to phase out the vaccine mandate in the coming weeks. Mayor Eric Adams
No
says
way.
so. The Nets star Kyrie Irving could be cleared for home games, but the current rules do remain in place.
Wow.
So we don't
Okay.
know. They plan to phase it out, which to me isn't news, right? We know that it's
They've
not
been
going to
well,
be
they've
there.
been talking about this for a month, right?
Yes. So
Um,
to me, this really isn't news, right? They're planning to phase out the vaccine mandate and everything, try and go back to normal. I feel like that's what every city in the entire world is trying to do at this exact moment. So
mhm.
to me, it's not really news. It happens to be New York City. The current rules will stay in place. They haven't put a time period for it. They haven't put a deadline when it will start. None of that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to eventually happen. If they
I
don't,
don't
I
think
don't.
we'll
I think
see it.
if this doesn't happen in the basketball season, I feel like the Nets just pay the fine and have Kyrie play all the playoff games. Um, but
Yeah,
eh,
I don't think we're gonna see if it does happen, I don't think it'll happen within this NBA season. I think it's more of a next year kind of thing. Obviously we don't really know much about it. But it's definitely interesting to something to keep your eye on moving forward.
yeah, like I said, it's not really news to me. Everybody can kind of see that coming, and they didn't set a date or anything. This could be knowing New York and the people running there in New York. You never know when anything's gonna ever happen, if it ever will. So, yeah, yeah, he might come back and play once the mandate's lifted. Like, okay, like everybody knew that. So, it's gonna be interesting to see, when exactly the time period is, but they haven't said it, so I'm really not worried about that at all.
Mhm. All right, I got one last
Okay, I'm
one
going
for
off
you.
going off script here. One last one.
Very likely, likely, or unlikely. Sixers make it past the second round.
Um I'm gonna go likely. I can't say very likely. And that's really all I want. I want an Eastern Conference Finals, and I'd be happy with the season. I know a lot of Sixers fans want a championship or they want to go to the finals. Eastern Conference Finals, I've never seen in my lifetime. Never seen an Eastern Conference Finals team. Born in '03, so it would be the first time in my life as a lifelong fan, and that's really all I want because I know next season once we have a full off season and training camp with Harden and Embiid, and we can move some pieces to fit around them. I feel like that's our championship window. But it's obviously it could happen like it could happen again where we face up against a team in the second round and when we face up against Giannis or someone or Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo for some reason are just too good. It's possible to happen, and then maybe Embiid or somebody God forbid goes down, and then we're screwed for the playoffs. Um, those things, although you don't want to think about them, they have happened before. Um, so I'm not going to say very likely. I'm going to say it's likely we make the Eastern Conference Finals. I like to think that, like I said, us and the Heat or us and the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I can't say very likely. I also can't say unlikely. So I gotta stick with
Right.
what you said about likely. You know, I've seen a lot of Sixers fans say championship or bust kind of thing, but they have to understand this isn't Harden's only year. This is not a rental Harden. I mean, I
Right.
think Harden's gonna finish out most of his career here. Um, it's really hard to win a championship only playing 20 games together in the regular season. And because it does take a while for guys to get used to each other and to build that chemistry. Yes, I'd like to see us win a championship. Do I think this is our year? It's really hard to tell. I mean, you never know what you're gonna have. I mean, you could have an injury or to another team, and you get an easier route to the finals. Or
Everybody deals with luck in the playoffs.
yeah,
Every team that's ever won a championship at any sport has dealt with luck in the playoffs. So
yeah,
if the ball bounces our way, then yeah, for sure we're going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. It hasn't the last couple. Well, it hasn't in my lifetime. Hasn't last couple of years for sure. Like quite literally. But I think it's likely, and I want to say very likely, but given the past, you just
yeah. I
can't.
can't.
Yeah,
You can never
you can never be too confident with this team.
never underestimate the disappointment that the
Yeah,
Sixers can bring you.
yeah,
Um, I do think we will make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
and that's a successful season for me.
Yeah,
If
if we
we can
if
lose,
we
like as long as we don't like absolutely choke our guts out against in the Eastern Conference Finals, like
yeah.
I would be pretty mad then. But if we lose for respectful, 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, yeah, I'd be pissed off. But like it would be a successful season.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I can't remember the last time we really had a successful season other than
oof.
winning 10 games. That was our last successful
I
season.
mean, I think I'd call
Ben Simmons rookie
Ben
year.
Simmons' rookie year
Yeah,
successful
well,
because we weren't really looking
beating
for
the Heat.
anything.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so, but, like, still not the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not as successful as you wanna be. It's obviously, we don't have Ben Simmons, so we don't gotta worry about that, but you do have Doc Rivers on your team, and he
Yep.
is your coach, and it all comes down to, is Doc gonna be able to set the minutes right? Is he gonna be able to stagger minutes? Is he gonna bring out an all bench lineup with a team of Maxey, Embiid, and Harden, and even Tobias? Is he gonna bring
Yeah.
out an all bench lineup?
I don't think it's gonna you gotta really, really try to be bad to do an all bench lineup now since we got Harden. But, Doc's gonna be Doc, and I'm gonna be confident that he makes when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, he makes the right decisions. Um, I would say that, like, yeah, Doc might be bad, but our players are gonna be better, and that's gonna override that, and I'd like to think that, and that's gonna be my mindset going into the playoffs.
Yeah. All right.
Is that it?
Is that all? I think that's
Episode
all we
1?
got for today. Episode
Episode
1
1
in
in
the
the
books.
there we go. How about
Do you
that?
wanna do the outro?
Yeah, well, okay, guys, if you're on YouTube, if you see my face right now, just click that subscribe button. If you haven't already, like the video, comment what you want to see us do next. Tell us how good we are at what we do. We really appreciate it. Hit us up at Twitter. You can see Sixers Justin right there. I'm SixersGraeme. We have post game space. You can go to our podcast Twitter that we have. That'll be in the description of this YouTube video, or you can it's out on Twitter, and you can go to the Scenes from the Spectrum podcast Twitter account, which is FTS podcast underscore, and you can see our logo and stuff on there. And it, yeah, we're going to interact with you guys. So make sure you get us at all the socials and at the Scenes from the Spectrum podcast. There's a link tree in the bio so you can see our YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Apple Podcast, Spotify, the whole 9 yards is going to be on there. So make sure, outside of the podcast, you guys interact with us, because that's really the main thing of this. Just like we said, by Sixers fans for Sixers fans.
Yeah, all right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Definitely follow all the socials to check out the link tree on our podcast Twitter. Give me and Graham a follow on Twitter. And thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you guys for tuning in, and especially making it all the way to the end. It's
Yes.
been over an
If you're
hour.
here, you're a real one. And don't forget, James Harden's a Sixer.
Yep. All right. We'll see you, everybody.
Peace.